All right. Greetings and welcome to the Supply Drop episode 51, part 2, Thick Drew First Blood. A game podcast created by three people who are essentially the Motorhead of gaming. I guess they're a famous three-piece band. My name is Nate. I'll be your host. I'm joined by one other co-host today. That is Scott.
Hello, everybody.
Scott, how does your heart sing knowing that Thick won't be joining us for episode 51?
How
does it sing?
It weeps high fructose corn syrup.
Okay. All right.
And also, I do have my air conditioner on. It is extremely hot here today, so it's not picking up on my register. So hopefully we don't hear it, but
Just in case,
just letting everybody know because it is
fair enough.
Yeah, if you live anywhere in the South or like really just south of the planet, you're able to bake bread in your mailbox apparently. So
yeah,
just kind of deal with it.
Mm-hmm. All right, before we get started, I want to remind listeners they can drop us a comment, question, or insult at the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel. That's a big one.
That is a big one.
Scott, tell listeners how your week went.
My week went pretty good. It's been super hot here, and we found a little piece of our house that is completely rotten. About this, it's just a little bitty piece, but it took like 4 hours to fix it yesterday.
Really?
It's kind of like one of those, hey, look, a crack. Oh, look, a hole. Hey, look, this, it just gets deeper. Yeah. But other than that, I was super excited to find out. I didn't know this was even a thing. But, Nate, you might remember this, but back in 1999, Halo was shown for the very first time at Macworld, of all places. Steve Jobs came out and said, this is coming out on Mac first, unbeknownst to Jason Jones and all of Bungie, who were like, no, it's coming out on PC first. But we got to see it, and it was really just a showing of some Spartans running around, shooting some elites, and driving and going into a control room and carrying a flag. It was just to kind of show, what it looks like, and it was amazing. At the time, it was absolutely amazing.
At that point, was it a first-person shooter?
It was third person, actually.
It was third person?
Right. It was third person up to when Microsoft bought them.
Oh, really?
And there's actually some, the armor of the elites and the Spartans are different in that video, and there's also some weapons that are a little different that didn't really make the cut into the final release. So, some excellent modders made the whole map and the control room, the kind of the scenario of what you're doing. They added a little bit more and made it a playable map. So, and it's called Dig Site. So if you have the Master Chief Collection on Steam, you can go download this for free. And they actually have the weapons that were taken out of the original release.
Wasn't there a flamethrower?
Yes, it's in there. There's also a Gatling gun. There's also an SMG and a sniper pistol, which is also
one of those.
Yeah, that thing is just put it in Halo right now. So I was super excited to play. I saw this on YouTube and I'm like, what in the world? So I immediately stopped the video, went and downloaded it, and played it, and I can't stop playing it. It is just absolutely fun, and it. For me, it brings back that excitement of seeing Halo for the first time. So it's very nostalgic for me, and I think anybody that saw that, downloaded that video of that QuickTime and watched it in a window about, a 2.5 by 2.5 window, because if you made it any bigger, it was just so pixelated, you didn't even know what it was, and watched it like 3,000 times, then you know what I'm talking about. And it's hard to kind of depict how much it means, because at the time it was amazing. Now if you look at it, it just looks, it doesn't look that great, but it's just, it's very nostalgic. So I've been playing that and having a lot of fun with it, and if you enjoy it, go get it now. Just go to your Steam page and go to the community, go to the mods, and just type Dig Site. It's probably going to be the first one on there anyway. Everybody's playing that. So Scott, that cheered me up.
How like finished does it feel? Like, is it a full level?
It is a full level. You have a mission, and it is You can complete it. It did crash on me once. There are a couple of bugs. You have to have, and this I found this out, of course. It won't load unless you have the multiplayer installed as well. I didn't realize I didn't have the multiplayer for Halo CE installed on Steam, so you may have to go back and install that to get that to work properly. But once you do, you're good to go.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool, and it's something that's like it's nostalgic, but it was something that never was going to get released, and now you got it.
I know I will frequently, not frequently, but every once in a while I'll look back at those that pre-Halo release marketing, and it still looks cool today.
I think it does. There was one that they did that was funny. They did it for the new GeForce 2. No, it was the GeForce 256 graphics card. And it was like this cheesy, like, hey, check it out. Here's a card, and it was just really cheesy and really fun. And it kind of showed how Bungie had a sense of humor, and even with marketing, they had a sense of humor back then because it was relatively a small studio.
Right.
Unbeknownst to us, they were like, bleeding money left and almost like went out of complete existence. Had not, Microsoft come in and bought them, we might have not gotten Halo at all. But I'm thinking about making a video about Halo and the perspective of what it meant then. You see these documentaries about like, well, here's the 60s, man, and this is what it was like if you had to be there. Halo is one of those things where you had to be there. If you play it now or if you see it now, you're like, so what? He's got 2 weapons. So what? You can play multiplayer on the same thing. So what? It's a console and FPS. There was none of that before Halo, or if it was just not, properly implemented. So. Yeah, I don't know. Just
Halo, absolutely like such an important game.
It really is, and I think people don't realize it that have come into it later. I mean, heaven forbid, like their first, Halo game was like Halo 4 or Halo 5 or something. Oh God, but yeah, it's all about that, preservation of these games and these styles, and this just kind of adds to it, and let you play something that almost didn't exist. So whoever made this, if you're watching, thank you. It's a good addition to some mods that are already out there for Halo.
Scott, what a like a optimistic and a nice week you had.
It really did cheer me up. I was thinking, I was having one of those weeks where it was like, Diablo 4 is getting very grindy. I don't want to really play. I'm playing Battle Bits, and I'm getting a little burnt out on that because I probably haven't played it too much. And then I saw this video for this, and it's just like, just kind of re-injected.
Refreshing.
Yeah, it's refreshing, gaming and nostalgia and Halo in general for me.
All right, I'm gonna have to do a downturn on this conversation though.
Okay.
All right, there's a game I'm particularly interested in your past that you played a little bit called Warhammer Boltgun.
Yes.
Why aren't you going back to that, Scott?
I do. I still play that. That game is way longer than I thought it was.
Like 30-ish hours? 25, 30?
I have to look and see what I'm at because it just.
But you are putting time into it?
I am. It's just going and going, and it is still this game. I'm sure people have talked about it in the reviews, but the level design in this game is so good. I mean, it's like each segment. When you start off, it's like, oh, I'm in a desert. And then you quickly realize, oh, I'm in a very vertical, like cliff-hanging, like I got to stay on the sides level, changed completely from the last one. And then you're in one there where you jump from like giant tower to giant tower and take enemies out. And this isn't like, oh, you're getting points to upgrade this, or oh, look, you got a new shirt. Oh, look, you got a new skin for your gun. None of this is in here.
It's the joy of the shooting.
It's the game itself, right? It reminds you of like if you strip away all of that, what you can actually do with just a plain first-person shooter. Every level, I don't want to say level, every mission, when you complete a mission, you go to the next one, is very different from the one you played previously. Okay.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's not. I'm not tired of it. I do still play
Yeah.
it, but I carve out a time where it's like I got 2 hours. I want to play this for 2 hours. It's not like I don't want to play it. I don't want to play it for 15 minutes. You can't really accomplish a level in 15 minutes.
Okay.
But man, the level design is it just doesn't get enough credit for the level design.
I like hearing that because I feel like level design is something that you don't like. I feel like it's not on the top of people's tongues,
it's not something that you really talk about. It's more of like, the loot, the grind, the transactions, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah, none of that's in here.
I put that game on my wish list on PlayStation. They have that wish list feature, and it was discounted like $4, and I was like, should I buy it or should I not? And then I'm always like, I'm gonna wait until I hear what Scott says a little bit more.
It's like $20, right?
Yeah, I know, but
yeah.
I'm like turning into Thickless, or I'm like I want to see things sub $10 now.
Oh yeah. No, I'm with you. I mean, even when it came out, it was discounted. I got it.
Right.
I think it was like $16.99 or something. So.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I went ahead and bought the bullet. I bit the bullet and bought the game. But I'm glad I did. I mean, if you like first-person shooters, and especially if you're a grizzled ancient like me that's played these older games that it kind of emulates. It's just it's really good. It's really, really good.
All right. Well, it's still on the wish list. I haven't removed it. Scott, can I tell you what happened to my week?
Yeah, please do.
I didn't play a single video game, not a single one.
Good.
What I did play
take a break.
What I did is I played a game called Twitter. All right,
that's my favorite.
I lost at Twitter. Right, I did not win at all.
Yeah,
with Twitter. But I guess I saw my whole point on with Twitter is like it would be nice to get some people seeing the podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of like on my profile I'll have like check out this podcast, right?
Right.
And then on every episode I'll pin it to the top. And I assumed I'd be great at this, but I'm like it takes me about 30 comments to get some person gives me a little like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then another thing that I'm realizing, that Nietzsche quote, like, don't stare into the abyss lest the abyss becomes you?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm turning into Twitter. My brain is like, you're...
That should be Twitter's tagline,
Yeah.
That's welcome to Twitter.
Yeah, I feel like Captain Picard, like, at the end of season 4 when he becomes a Borg, like half Borg, you know what I mean? Yeah, not good.
Yeah, how do you win at Twitter? Can you win? I feel like it's more like a battle royale than
it is a battle royale. It's awful. What is frustrating about that too is I'll subscribe. I think they call it subscribe to people I'm kind of I think are interesting people. Right. And apparently they follow a bunch of people that are just like train wreck like console warriors.
Yeah.
So essentially my whole feed is nothing but like the most rage bait console warrior nonsense. And I'm like, but I want to hear from you guys, not from
Right.
This wider group of people.
That's the worst because you want to hear like say Jez Corden for instance, the writer for
Windows
Central, and so I want to see what's going on at Windows Central. So he'll post things like the articles that he's working on, things like that. And of course you go to like respond to it, and there's just hate, just like everyone that ever even thought of owning a PlayStation is just riddled with these just horrible comments and stuff. And it's not like you can't comment on that because you can't interject the ongoing conversation because there isn't one.
Right.
It's just like somebody taking pot shots at anything he said that might, be construed as being Xbox positive,
Yeah, I think I'm assuming what you have to do, and this is look again, it's not going well for me, so to take any advice from this, I think what you have to do is like kind of create hopefully a compelling tweet and just hope another sane person sees it. Because none of the people above you are sane, none of the people below you will be sane, but maybe there's like...
I actually thought of like creating like 18 accounts and like posting something and then just immediately going to each account and responding to it in like a positive way to see if I could like change
something that way.
Right, change the narrative, of things. And in
it's
my
like priming the go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like the opposite of AI, churning or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time for that.
Yeah.
Nor should I. I mean, I'm sure somebody probably does that because it seems like some of the conversations are like yeah, man, I agree with you because of blah blah. And I'm like, is this the same person? Like all of this is
Yeah.
just it's somebody has the dumbest take I've ever heard about video game in my life, and then there's 20 people that agree with them, and I'm like, are you the same person?
Yeah, I hear you. So hopefully next week will be a better week for me. You know?
Yeah. Twitter.
I'm hoping to win.
It's
I'm
gonna
hoping
get
to win
better.
Twitter.
Yeah.
It's gonna get better.
I mean, I think
Okay.
we all win when it just when they shut it off.
I know. All right. So here's what we're gonna do next. Okay, we're gonna go to
Yeah.
we have a new. By the way, Scott, you didn't know this, but we have a new listener feedback correspondent, and we'll
Oh,
get
yeah?
to him. Who it
Okay.
is? Yeah.
All right, cool.
So before we kick things off, let's go to our listener feedback segment. Here's where listeners of the Supply Drop participate in the discussion by going to the Supply Drop Podcast YouTube channel and dropping a question, comment, or devastating insult. Let's go over to our listener feedback correspondent, Scott, and see what he has for us this week.
Okay.
Scott, I'm assuming Bobson dug nuts out there.
That
He's
would.
circling like a shark.
Yeah, you're probably right. I thought I
Yeah.
had this up. I apologize. I usually
Oh,
have
what?
this up just to kind of help Thick, who's not here.
Yeah, well,
As you can
one
see.
of Thick's strengths was he was a great listener feedback correspondent. He was so on top of it.
Oop, let me turn our thing
You know.
off. Okay, no comment there.
No comment there.
No. We have. Let's see. Why does this not show me the comments? What? It says 2 comments. Where are the comments?
Thick, please come back. We need you, Thick.
I failed.
Yeah.
I
It says
usually
there's-
watch these because it will notify me if there's a comment.
Really?
I hate it when it does. It does that on my channel as well sometimes.
So nothing's popping up right now?
If somebody deletes a comment, it
Uh-huh.
should tell you it's deleted, but it will still tell you that
You
still
have a
got
comment there.
Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it would appear that on our latest one we do not have a comment.
Bow, 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 dow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, do you want to hear who sponsored the segment this week?
yes, please.
All right, this week's listener feedback segment was brought to you by Squarespace. With Squarespace, you can make a website to sell anything. Build your dream using Squarespace. That shows you we're legit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Absolutely.
a legit
And
sponsor.
Squarespace is an actual thing.
Yes, thank you.
It is.
Well, also, the wig party was also an actual thing.
Oh, I didn't
You
know
know.
that.
Yeah.
And there was
Quickly,
that
Scott.
Sears thing that was totally
That's
made
right.
up.
That's right. All right, Scott, we got to get to the drop, the
Yeah,
segment
let's do
of our podcast where we talk about last week's most intriguing news stories. Scott, what was the big story for you this week?
I really didn't have anything happen this week that could have changed
Nothing-
gaming forever. I couldn't really find anything.
Oh, wow.
Microsoft won their case over the FTC, and the judge ruled in Microsoft's favor. So, Microsoft has already signed papers that they own Activision Blizzard, in all intents and purposes. Sony signed a deal with them, and really the only thing left is, and I'm going to quote The Verge here. Let's see, closed Activision Blizzard deal ahead of its July 18th deadline, which is tomorrow, but only if the company is willing to close around the UK or if the Competition Markets Authority, CMA, is willing to negotiate some form of remedy. The UK regulator moved to block Microsoft's proposal acquisition in April, and Microsoft is currently appealing the decision with the hearing set to start on July 28th. And people are saying that is probably now going to go through. Since the FTC has failed completely, and the UK should thank everybody that I don't work for Microsoft because I am petty and vengeful, and they can just enjoy whatever version of Office that they have currently. It's the last one they're getting.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Windows 11. Yeah, just enjoy that for the next 10 years. But that's just me. I'm sure they'll work
Yeah.
out a deal. Yeah, it'll, that their whole infrastructure is built on Microsoft servers, so they're probably going to come around at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the big deal. That's the, it's over. I mean, we can get on with our lives, but
Yes.
I don't know. I mean, what do you feel about this? This is, This doesn't really affect. I mean, you're on PlayStation. I'm on PC.
Right.
It doesn't really affect us. I mean, if you think about it, it's
well, I think it would affect PlayStation players because PlayStation players are probably going to lose access to future Activision Blizzard franchises, not current franchises, future franchises.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for right now, like as far as like Call of Duty and everything that's currently, Overwatch, all of that stuff,
maintains.
Yeah, I don't really see that that's going to change. And anything that's going forward, that's probably going to take a year and a half for that to, we're looking at like, Call of Duty 2025. Is going to be like, oh, well, that's going to be the one it's going to be on everything, obviously, but that content's going to come out first on Xbox. That XP weekends are going to be everything PlayStation now gets, they're not getting. So that's when it starts. But right now, everybody can just chill out. Stop throwing Molotovs at cars and stuff. It doesn't affect you right now. You just go play Call of Duty. Go play Overwatch. Everything's cool. Don't worry about it. I'm personally a little concerned. One, I'm happy that they have said that they are going to make working conditions for Activision Blizzard employees better, and Activision Blizzard employees wanted this because of that. They know that they talk to people at Microsoft, and they're like, yeah, they're much better about this stuff than Activision is. So they want that, and I think that's great. I think that that's something that's positive for anybody that works there. Yeah, I mean, I have a job. I want it to be good for me. And Bobby Kotick is most likely grabbing a paycheck and hitting the road. So then which is a good thing. But who are they putting in place of Bobby Kotick? That may be. I don't know. Who's it going to be? Bonnie Ross?
It's going to be Sarah Bond.
Sarah Bond would be a good pick. That actually.
What is her current? Do you know what her current position is?
She is in charge of. God, I know this. I just can't remember it. Yeah. She was instrumental in, I think, really the case, the court case. She was very cool, very collected, and had her facts. I mean, she was awesome.
She is the corporate vice president, game creator experience at ecosystem at Microsoft. So I don't know, that seems vague, but it seems high up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I believe that she is right under Phil Spencer. And Matt Booty. Matt Booty is in charge of the studios, basically. So she is in charge of pretty much everything in between. And then, of course, Phil Spencer is in charge of the whole gig. But so to put her in charge of that probably would be a good position. But again though, looking at, I just can't help but go back to 343 and that's like one of the worst studios. Not the worst employees, not the worst developers, but just how they ran that studio is just a prime example of how to not run a studio. So now these people that put that studio in place and made that from scratch is now in charge of a lot of things. Wow.
Let me be the optimistic one here, though. Okay.
Yeah, please.
Because I've seen this. I'm on Twitter. I've seen that comment a lot on Twitter. Like they're gonna run everything into the ground. But I'm like, well, both the Forza franchises are probably doing better. They're growing, right?
Yeah.
They're growing critically and commercially. So that's like, I guess you can thank Microsoft for that. Then I feel like Flight Sim is like a hot. It's like a peak. It's not. It's like it's doing very well as a franchise.
It's a niche, but it's very good for what it is. Yeah.
Right.
You're not going to find anything better as far as flight sims. Yeah.
And then I think we saw like Psychonauts 2 did pretty well, right?
Yeah, and
that was in large part.
Yeah, and that studio, said that wouldn't have been made, and would not have been made at that highest quality had Microsoft not bought them. They just wouldn't have had the money to do that.
I thought I remember them saying we weren't going to do boss battles in it, and then because we got purchased, we could add these interesting bosses in.
Yeah, because they could put more in the game and do more. Right. And that's really what it's all about. I mean, if you have the money, have the talent, and have the time, and then of course have a publisher that's like, are you meeting your milestones? Are you meeting your deadlines? Then that's how stuff gets made. So I think Microsoft, hopefully with how 343 ended up and how Halo failed, they're not going to let that happen again. Microsoft makes big mistakes, man. I mean, they make giant mistakes, but they always come back doing better. I mean, look at Xbox One. You know, if you look at the Xbox One, just the console itself and how they launched it and what they did, and then look at the, you know, Series X and S, vastly different.
Right.
And one was almost tanked it, and one is becoming very successful. So there's your positive spin on it, but, you know, like I said, everybody can just relax, just, you know, chill out for right now. It's. Right. I'm just glad that we don't have to I said before the show, you know, go learn, you know, to become a lawyer so that we can talk, you know, intelligently about this thing now, and now we don't have to.
Yeah, I have a learning disability. I can't learn.
Oh, I do too. I mean, if it's not it's not colors and pictures, forget it. I'm not getting it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I feel like I came to maybe a what is it when you come to a realization in your life? It's called
epiphany.
An epiphany. An epiphany. I came to an epiphany. So there's two things that I used to consider myself an expert on. One was like sports. Like sports is pretty simple. You could, you know, there's a draft in NBA, NFL, and you can study the draft prospects, right? So if you have the 5th pick in the draft, you can study like 8 guys, and you're like, we're gonna get one of these 8 guys, right? And when you go back like 4 years in the past, and you're like, and you look at what those guys became, you had no idea what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. Because
the guy you thought was going to be good was terrible. The guy you thought was terrible was like the best player. So I'm like, something that simple. I can't even get that right. So it's like this huge like economic issue of like, you know, mergers and you know, not oligarchies, but like this corporate what's the word? Consolidation.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, you know, I guess I ultimately don't think I even should have an opinion on it, because it's just like, I don't know what's gonna happen. You don't know what's gonna happen.
It's hard to say, you know, if somebody's like, well, it's gonna be a monopoly. I'm like, I don't know. That's not what a monopoly is, you know.
Yeah.
If they bought every studio, that would be a monopoly, and that's something you can't do. So I've just looked at it in kind of like in a chunk of, you know, where it is and what happens, and try to keep a perspective of it, because again, I don't want to be a fanboy, you know, or come off as somebody that's, you know, a fanboy of Xbox, but at the same time, you know, I have PC Game Pass, and I play games. I play a lot of games for $15 a month, or now $17 a month. You know, so I am an advocate for getting more of that, because that has to do with me. You know, if those titles going forward go directly to Game Pass, I'm a win. You know, So that's what I look at. I don't care if Microsoft, you know, makes billions. What's in it for me? You know, and that's the way you ought to look at it. Everybody's like, oh, well, you know, PlayStation loves me. PlayStation, Xbox, they don't know you. They don't care about you. Well, I mean, they care about your account number. But anyway.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the next year or two looks like in terms of acquisitions, you know.
Yeah, they're not done. They're not done.
No, and I'm like, you know, at what point do these people who are cheering for this, at what point does it become like, okay, now we can start sweating a little, right?
Yeah, because you don't want Microsoft to own everything.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't want any single entity to own 80% of the market. Right.
What makes Microsoft good right now, and what makes them, you know, make those better decisions, is because they're not the leader. You know, they have competition. They have direct competition with PlayStation. And that's what makes PlayStation better. And it's what keeps them in check, is having Microsoft right behind them, innovating. You know, they're not making the money, but they're innovating the market. They're innovating, you know, video gaming in general. And Sony's having to implement that, and it makes them better. So if Microsoft was the leader in video gaming in general, I don't know if I want to see that. I don't know if I want that. You know, I know what PlayStation does when they're on top. Yeah. You know, they're like $70 games, yo.
Yeah.
a VR system for $500. That's what you get with Sony when they're on top. With Microsoft on top, what does that look like? I don't know. That's scary.
Yeah. And I don't think being on top is the issue. I think being so above on top is potentially scary.
Yeah. When you're neck and neck, that's where you want them to be, because that's when they're the best, and that's when it benefits you the most. So, yeah.
Exciting times for sure.
It is.
Exciting times for sure. Almost makes you want to have a podcast.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Yeah. Where are we?
Yeah.
Where are we? So, Scott, that was your big story this week?
That was my big story. I had a little story. There was an actor, Luke Charles Stafford, went to Twitter and said he's playing Ratcliffe for Call of Duty 2024, and apparently it is a Black Ops game set in the Gulf War. I am not a Black Ops fan. I don't really...
Why are you not?
Because I think that those... for one, the multiplayer... I've never enjoyed the multiplayer as much as an Infinity Ward Modern Warfare multiplayer. I think it's a little more grounded. To me, it just feels better. I feel like I wish that they would just make that the standard. But there are others that are just a flip flop. They're just like, they don't like the Modern Warfare. They love the kind of the slightly goofiness of the Black Ops. But to each his own. But a Black Ops game set in the Gulf War is kind of interesting. Early 1990s and coming out of the 60s and 70s and kind of shaking off that post pre-Vietnam stuff. That might be interesting. Plus, that time period is really good for multiplayer, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
as far as weapons and gear and settings and things like that. Yeah, it sounds good. And that sounds about right as far as like the time frame and the next one we knew was going to be a Black Ops game for next year. We still don't know really what's going to come out this year. It's supposed to be an iteration of Modern Warfare, but here we are, going into August, and they still haven't shown it and still haven't said anything. So,
all right,
we'll see.
Scott, I have a question for you. Does this franchise ever have historical figures in it? Like, was there Reagan? Was Ronald Reagan in one of them?
Yeah,
or was there a Ronald Reagan
there was
lookalike?
Kennedy was in one. Ronald Reagan was in one. That's another reason why I don't really like him. This neat. I mean, it's have like a rendition, of Reagan and Kennedy and Nixon and all that stuff.
You want something a little more fanciful?
No, I want something a little more grounded. This is
more grounded in Kennedy.
Well, it's in the context. If you play the games, the Black Ops games are like, man, it's like borderline UFO stuff and
it is.
And just deep conspiracy, CIA garbage, and I mean, it's just as far as the campaign stuff, and then it just goes way off the rails, and I don't know. I like the original Call of Duties where you played. You had a scenario. Here's the war. You play this character from this, platoon or whatever, and then you play this character, and you get a perspective of the entire war, through that campaign. And they stopped doing that. I think after Modern Warfare 4? No, I mean Call of Duty 4. Yeah. After that, I think that was the last one where they kind of did that. I think. No, they did it with 2. I don't know. Anyway, but I would like to see them go back to something like that, and it being the Gulf War and not some made-up war. Maybe they'll, kind of bring that back to the roots of Call of Duty. I think that's what made it good.
Scott, if a Call of Duty movie gets made, who is it gonna? What character from the franchise is it gonna star?
Oh, I would think it would probably be. That's a good question, because I feel like, there's some Black Ops characters. And then there's some Modern Warfare characers.
Oh,
so
no,
which one do you make? Yeah. So see, which one do you go with? Do you go with Black Ops, or do you go with, Modern Warfare?
You create a portal in the universe, and they come into each other's world, and they help each other. That's
the Call of Duty multiverse, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hey, put that on paper, man. Let's send it to somebody. Huh.
All right. That was solid. That's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there was like a little news story. They're saying something like it's going to be the most advanced one, technologically advanced Call of Duty. But they say that every year.
They say that every year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Whatever,
okay.
buddy.
All right. Well, Scott, I have 2 stories this week. Do you want to hear them?
Yes.
All right. Number 1, video games are dying.
Yep.
Okay. According to a study published by the Video Game History Foundation, more than 87% of classic video games might be lost forever due to their widespread commercial unavailability. Classic games are apparently games released before 2010, as digital distribution didn't exist at scale.
Right.
Scott, this story in particular got a lot of talk on the internet, on Reddit. It got people talking.
Yep.
Now, I had a strong reaction to this story. Did you have a strong reaction to this story?
No.
All right.
Because
why was your reaction not strong? Tell us your reaction. Tell us.
get a PC and get some emulators. Done.
Get a PC and get some emulators. So
Yeah.
so
Okay.
it's that
Say
simple.
Yeah. Take a say an original PlayStation 2 game, right? That came on disc, right? You can't
Yeah.
buy that digitally. I mean, it's on the disc. You could just download it.
So you're literally telling me this is basically a non-news story.
No, it's
So-
not a non-student. It's okay if you're playing exclusively. I'm being purposefully kind of elitist. If you own a console and you're only on console, we knew that at one point that these games were going to go away. Everybody is, there's a fight between digital and physical media. And the problem with physical media is right now when you say, there's like the first Spyro game or whatever on PS2, right? Well, it's not available. You go to your shop, so nobody has it. Oh, look, somebody's got it on eBay, for $400. Because that's physical media. You can't play it any other way on a console, So in order to kind of take all of those games and, well, let me back up. I think there needs to be a library of an available digital library of these things. And I think it's the responsibility of Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo to do that. These games are going away, but people will always find a way to play this old stuff. The things that I worry about really are like the older Nintendo cartridges.
But can't you emulate those?
You can emulate all of them.
Anything.
Right.
Okay,
But you have to have a PC to do that. So that's what I'm saying. It's not, it's easy for me to say, oh, just go get a PC. I mean, getting a PC pretty much, fixes every video game problem you have. But it's not the cheapest thing in the world,
Scott, it's still not making sense to me because I feel like console gamers have been conditioned to once you buy the new console. I know recently it's changed, but once you buy the new console, the old games are
They don't
stay in
matter.
the past.
Yeah.
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 So I feel like everyone's getting upset just because the industry just flipped over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I hate this story. I hate it. I never should have included it.
Well, it's one of those things. It's like, oh my God, what about these games? Okay, you take that game. You remember that game you loved when you were, 8 years old. when you came home from school and played it every day.
Yeah.
Go play it now. You'll play it for like about 3 minutes and go, wow, that was great. Let me go back to playing, NBA 2023. Right.
Right.
Because you have that nostalgia, but it's not the game you remember.
Yeah.
When you play it again, you're like, ugh. There's some exceptions to that, but you know what I'm
There
saying.
are.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed that people care so much about old games, and I'm like, well, no one's playing any of the old games. If you look at Steam, if you look at Xbox Live's most played games, it's all relatively newer games,
Yeah, unless it's something major, like an older Call of Duty
Skyrim.
or Skyrim or Halo or something like that. But I mean, there's so many games that were, just period. Just there's so many games. I mean, if you just go look at Steam right now, there's like 50,000 games on Steam or something like that.
Yeah. That's
just on Steam. Now that does include some of those older titles, but if you think about like Game Boy Advanced, Game Boy, Nintendo 64, original Nintendo, Atari, Amiga, Commodore. I mean, we can't save them all. I mean, there's no way to do that. And like I said, unless there's some kind of digital library that these companies really need to start implementing. Microsoft's done, I think, a fantastic job of doing it. But there's also for them, it's a licensing thing. There's a lot of racing games out there, and either driving or some kind of sports game that has music in it that you have to have a license for, and if you don't renew the license, then you can't put that in any other format,
right?
You know, or else you'll get sued. So that stops them from making like every original Xbox title available on backwards compatibility.
Okay.
Some of the stuff just you can't get a license. You can go back to the developer. Oh well, they're gone. You know. Oh well, go back to the publisher. They're gone. You know.
Right.
So it is kind of a mess, but it's just something that we're going to have to, you know, like I said, just start emulating them, or you're just going to have to get over it. Just let it go.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's official. I'm deleting this from the podcast because I think it's that much of a nonsense news story. Because here's what I feel. First of all, like you're saying, it's on PC. You can do it on PC. PC is a huge platform, right?
Right.
Number two, I view all those old games like, you know, when you see the plastic in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like all that plastic, you're like, it's all garbage. It's all nonsense. Well, stop valuing it.
Yeah, I mean, at some point too, it's going to have to go digital. We're going to have to go digital.
Right.
I mean, it's just the cost of everything when you make these games. The cost of manufacturing. God, what if you this is like ET for Atari. They made more copies of that game than they made Ataris.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. And actually, I want to say this, and I think you'll be behind me. If you prefer physical and you're listening to this podcast, stop listening to the podcast. We don't want your viewership, right? Scott, is that safe enough
that's
to
not
say?
true. Don't say that. No, but
right.
if you do, I mean, if you do like physical copies, you need to start kind of planning ahead. Remember, one, you don't own that game. You just own the plastic that's on it. You own a license to play that game. You don't own the game. Yeah. That was made by somebody else. And two, really one of the main reasons that we have physical copies now is because of Target, Walmart, you know, places like that. They buy a bunch of those things. But even there, you know, those areas are shrinking and they're getting a little smaller. Because a lot of those titles are going straight to digital. A lot of indie titles are going straight to digital. So we're going to just see fewer and fewer titles. This happened with PC. You used to go to the PC section, it was a whole wall. And then it was half a wall. And then it was a section. And then now it's an end cap. And the only thing that's on there is like...
got games on it, though.
Yeah.
The Sims.
You go get Diablo 3, you get The Sims, and you get WoW. And then you get some cards for, you know, your various live service games. And that's it. Yeah. And that's what's going to happen. And it's okay. It's okay, man. Just let it go. It's going to happen.
Let it
go. Just let it
go.
go.
Like that Frozen song, Let It Go.
Yeah, man. Just let it go. Just get your digital copies. Save a little environment.
All right. My second news story this week is called The Horizon is Vast. Okay.
I know where you're going with this.
Guerrilla Games studio director Jan Bart Van Beek went on record this week to say that the Horizon series will continue for a long time. The studio has 16 plans for future projects, but did not elaborate on what these 16 points will be, okay? So far, we know about 3 upcoming Horizon projects. The co-op multiplayer title, the third mainline entry in the series, and a live-action Netflix series. Mm-hmm. And also, apparently, the Horizon franchise has sold nearly 33 million units. So that does seem like a lot of units.
That's pretty good for 2 games. Yeah.
Yeah, and a VR title, and
I
guess
forgot
that's
about that.
I think that sold about 200,000 copies. So
yeah.
Scott, is Killzone a better franchise than Horizon?
Hell yeah.
It is, isn't it?
It is, man. I want another Killzone.
Yeah. What the heck?
God, I don't know.
I do feel like what Guerrilla is good at is creating like interesting premises and interesting worlds, right?
Yeah.
So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not an expert on the Killzone, but I think it's like 2 planets who are next to each other, and like one planet is like desolate of resources,
right?
And that's like the Hellgas planet who have the bad guys, and then the good guys are on the healthy planet, right?
Right.
That's a freaking awesome concept for a franchise.
I know. It's like constant war. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And even the last title, they changed it up a lot. and it's one of those that this was a launch title, Killzone.
Shadowfall.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it at first, but I played it again several times because it's a new console. It was that or Battlefield 4.
I bought those. Are my two launch titles.
Yeah.
I bought.
So you get tired of Battlefield 4, then you go play Killzone again.
Right.
I started to really appreciate the story and how it's like, okay, you got these first 3 games and you're fighting the bad guys, and then in the third one the bad guys are like, oh, now I'm kind of seeing their point. It's like, wait a minute,
right.
Why aren't we just sharing resources with? Yeah, so it just really kind of flipped it. The graphics were great, the gunplay was great, the controls were, it could have been better, but even the multiplayer was fun. And if you look at it today, that was a 2013 title. It still looks good.
Still looks sharp.
Yeah, and you had a drone that, I mean, it was a fantastic title. It was such a departure from the first 3, though. I think that's what really hurt them, and it didn't sell as well. But the second one, man, that I would love to have that on PC.
Killzone 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
That game was dark. It was gritty. The gunplay was fierce.
Right.
The sound was incredible. The graphics were incredible. The story was I don't remember the story. But each set piece was in that kind of goes along with like the first Gears of War, where it's like dark, gritty, a lot of gray, a lot of dirt, a lot of and people are like, "There's not a color."
Right.
So then the third one, of course, they had to have every single color on every in every shot, just like Gears 3. But man, that series, I always looked at those two kind of in parallel. It was supposed to be a Halo killer, but I think it was actually more the people that liked Killzone, I think, liked Gears of War because of that gritty, kind of in your face, very very mature, war-like simulations. I want that again. I think they do that really well. The Horizon games, I can't get into them. I don't like them. I don't like the characters.
Well,
it's.
Let me go on this. So I feel like the idea of Horizon it's still a cool world, right?
Yeah, I mean it's a cool premise, right?
But what that game is, it shoves characters in front of you that are so freaking boring and unlikable,
and the writing is
awful.
Terrible. Like I told you, like 5 minutes into the second game, she meets up with a character from the first game, right? So and then they go into this cave, and there's a hologram of her, previous image.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, it's the All Mother or whatever it is, like his deity,
and she's
his God, basically what he's taught from birth." And she's like, "Nah, it's just an image. All that's just a bunch of crap." And he's like,
"Go."
Yeah, he's like, "Oh, okay." It's like, I just shattered your entire belief system with one sentence, and you're like, cool. Who writes that? It's just like, and people are just like drooling over this thing.
It's funny too, because a writer has to write that, and then that writer has to send the script to someone who has to read it, and they're like, that sounds legit.
Somebody says, that's really good stuff, man.
Yeah.
I mean, what? It's like they get some Hollywood people out there, I think, but but the gameplay, and everything, there's stuff to like there. I played the first one, played it all the way through. Even bought it on PC and played a good bit of it on PC because I wanted to see what that looked like, full blown, not on a PS4. Yeah. But the second one I just really couldn't get into. I couldn't get over the story, the setup, the characters. I just couldn't get into it at all. So give us another Killzone. I want a Killzone TV show.
It looks like we're getting that live action.
Killzone? No, not Horizon. Killzone.
Killzone.
Yeah.
Killzone TV show. Yeah.
Rico?
I felt like the art style in Killzone was awesome.
It really was. It really was. When they made that first, like, it's a Halo killer, and they're like, oh, it didn't kill Halo, so let's do something a little different. And then it was completely marred by that that PlayStation 2, or was it PlayStation 3? No, I guess it was PlayStation 3.
The controls?
E3. No, the E3. Premiere of this thing that was completely fake. Yeah. But that section was in the game, and it was fun to play. So
I feel like I don't know if I was in high school still in that fake E3 demo or not demo presentation came out, and I can't remember if I believed it, but it looked unbelievable, right?
Yeah, it wasn't on par with the other things they were showing for the PlayStation 2. So it was kind of
like it was.
I mean, PlayStation 3. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah,
But
Scott, I have one more question for you though.
Yeah.
Is Sony making a smart business decision? Maybe I have two more. I might have two more questions for you. Is Sony making a smart business decision by blowing this franchise out, this Horizon franchise?
It's I don't know.
Every podcast I've heard are like they shouldn't be doing this. It's like franchise fatigue, and I'm like, nowhere in modern society do we get franchise fatigue. It doesn't exist.
Well, okay, it really just depends on what those 16 things are. Okay?
Exactly.
That one of the like 5 of them could be new Lego sets, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And those apparently sold really well, right? We got a TV show. We're going to have action figures. You got to have comic books.
I could see a movie.
A comic. Yeah, there's going to be a comic or maybe a movie. Well, if the TV show does really well, maybe they'll just continue that. Or if it doesn't do very well, maybe they can come out with a movie. But it really just depends. If they try to make like 5 games out of this one kind of world, that's when you start to get fatigue. Or if you just keep making the same game over again. If Horizon 3 is just going to be the same game again, then that is a mistake. I think it's a mistake.
I have no hopes about the third mainline Horizon game because I feel like the first 2 were so similar that you can't take a big risk with the third one, right? It's got to be to complete the trilogy, you have to be more or less the same.
You have to be the same. Yeah, you just have to add new stuff, but the third one always sells the most, right?
Do they? Is that true?
Historically, usually it's number 3 is like the best one. 1 is like, I don't know if I want to get into this. 2 is like, oh, they made a sequel, and 3 is like, let's do this.
It's a big thing,
right? Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if I don't know. I really can't. I can't say. I really just think it depends on what those things are going to be,
how quality they are.
Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, I might watch the TV show. As long as it's not people walking around with a bunch of big, white plastic pieces all over that.
Scott, it's going to have that.
I just hate that aesthetic. It just looks ridiculous. I mean, like Aloy's wearing, like, how can you jump and do that stuff when you're wearing like 95 pounds worth of fur, hair,
right?
Whatever dinosaur shells. I don't know what you got on there.
Scott,
it's just ridiculous.
I know you love sports, so that's why I'm going to tell you this sports story. Okay.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, there was a big heavyweight title fight. The number for the belt. It was Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Deontay Wilder comes out in this like outfit. He's like half a robot, and apparently, like you come out and the lights are dark and they're playing that cool music, and you're like going to the ring.
Yeah.
He walked out there. I guess the thing was 30 pounds. He lost the fight, and then they said, in the post-fight press conference, he's like, I lost the fight because that thing was too heavy. I got tired. He literally said that. It was too heavy. I didn't have my legs, right?
Right.
But Aloy can jump all over the place.
Oh, man,
She's fine.
She's got some endurance, apparently. Yeah. I mean, that hair's got to be like,
the hair alone,
15 pounds alone.
Yeah,
it's just,
exactly.
But... yeah, I mean it's good. If people like that, and I mean if you like Horizon, go for it. I mean, I'm not saying it's just not. It's not for me.
It would just be nice if maybe they could get like a totally new writing team in there.
Yeah, the writing could really use some.
That's my one issue. That's my main issue with it.
I mean, even the first one, Aloy is just not an interesting character. She could have been interesting. There could have been there was no trauma there.
No.
Yeah, there's no. The only thing she's an outcast. She didn't grow up around people. That sounds
there was no
awesome.
Growth. Yeah, I know.
I mean, she's just like Grizzly Adams' daughter. Like what?
Right.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah.
There's nothing that happened to her that made her who she is. That's bad writing.
That's bad writing.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Scott. Let's go to the rumor mill, shall we?
Yeah, please do.
We have 3 rumors this week. Rumor number 1. According to Spanish insider Xtaz1, I don't know who that is, Sony had the opportunity to avoid exclusivity for all Activision and Blizzard franchises until 2027, but instead opted for Call of Duty on PlayStation for the next 10 years. Does that make sense to your brain?
No.
I think what they're saying is Activision approached them and said, "Hey, do you want all of our future our is it our current franchises up for the next 5 years?
Yeah.
Or do you want Call of Duty alone for 10?" And they picked 10 for Call of Duty. So they don't care about Crash.
No,
They don't
I
really
guess
care
that
about
makes
future
sense.
Diablos.
No, that doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. That's their, well, Jim Ryan said our studios are crap. Call of Duty really is the only thing that makes us money.
Right.
So,
So
you know.
maybe he chose correctly.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense. I mean, you want to go for the long run. You want to go with your top seller. Because,
Right.
hey, tomorrow Overwatch might, they might release something and it drop off almost completely.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Rumor number 2. This one comes from Jez Corden. Jez Corden implies that StarCraft 3 is in development by saying, quote, "Yup," to someone asking if StarCraft 3 is in development.
That sounds like
Scott-
an awesome rumor.
Yeah. Scott, here's my question for you.
Yeah.
Is StarCraft 3 just going to look like a better looking StarCraft 2?
I hope so.
You don't want any growth from the, you know what I mean by growth. Like, you don't want it to be a new genre.
No.
Scott, you're bad. I wish Thick was here.
No,
'Cause
I
Thick
mean,
was
just
side
for
of
StarCraft. I mean, if you want to do, if you want to remake. It's not I'm knocking my microphone off. If you want to remake like Warcraft, like the original Warcraft, when people don't think this, that used to be a strategy game. It wasn't, World of Warcraft. It was just Warcraft. If you want to remake that and kind of make it into something completely different and reinvigorate like the strategy genre, go for it. StarCraft, I think that most people want just a better StarCraft, a more updated version. You don't think so?
No way, because there are no hot RTSs right now. That genre is dead. It's a dead genre.
It's coming back.
What are you talking about? Give me some examples.
Age of Empires 4 came out.
Are
It
people
sold
playing
really
that?
well. Yeah.
But how well did it sell?
Homeworld, what is it? Homeworld 3 is coming out.
Yeah, but are these big hits?
There's like 10, maybe 10 people.
All right. All I'm saying is I don't think.
No, I get it.
I don't
I
think
get
this is gonna be the next big franchise. If it's just a better looking StarCraft 2.
What do you think it needs to be?
You're gonna hate when I say this. It needs to be an open
Extraction.
world, not necessarily extraction. It needs to be open world sandbox. Like, all right, I know you don't like Rust, right? I know you don't like Rust or Ark, but what if it was a polished version of that?
Set in the StarCraft.
I think that IP is amazing.
No, I do
And
too, and I wish they would do more with it.
Right, and I think base building is such a big part of that franchise. And I'm like, oh, base building in third person, like as long as it's.
So you're saying
productive.
okay? So you're saying like StarCraft, but you're one of the people, and your team. It's all everybody's a player, and then you're building stuff and getting resources.
I don't know about that. I don't know
Okay.
if like every single unit is a player. I think what you'd have to do is you'd have to be a genius with this, but I think you'd have to do like StarCraft has you controlling 200 units, right? I think there was a 200 unit peak. I think they'd have to kind of scale that back to 50 units or under 100 units, right? Something where it's manageable doing it with how they tried to do it with Minecraft Legends. Mm-hmm. But I mean, that didn't work out for. Yeah, something more like that.
Okay, I can see that. Yeah,
but because I just don't see. I'm so sick of that actions per minute. I could never crack 40. I could never crack 40 actions per minute.
Yeah.
All right. It sounds like you want to get to room number 3.
Yeah. What is it?
The Snitch. The Snitch? He just tweeted the following earlier today. Quote, PXS. That's the whole tweet. Many are thinking this implies that PlayStation has bought Shell Oil. The Shell Oil company.
Really?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, no one's actually saying that, but
yeah.
I guess
gas prices are going up.
Yeah, that's right. $70 per
$70 a gallon.
Yeah. Not much to go on there. I guess. What do you think P multiplied by S could be? People are saying, look, legitimately, some people are saying, oh, maybe they bought Square. PlayStation bought Square. I don't know. It seems it's too vague of a rumor.
God, I don't know what that would be.
Yeah.
I don't, unless it's a hint to, I don't know, a new version of PS5,
or maybe
the
a PS Slim.
PS5 Pro, or
yeah,
maybe it's not going to be called Pro. Maybe it's going to be the
PXS?
PlayStation Series X.
Yeah.
That would be
all right.
That would be funny.
Scott, we didn't end the rumor mill on a high note, okay? We ended on a low note.
Yeah, that's a puzzle. That's not a rumor.
Yeah,
That's a puzzle.
yeah.
So we'll have to see how that unfolds. That might
Right.
be interesting. Maybe like next week there'll be another letter, and then
Right.
we'll have to scramble them.
Yeah.
To figure out what.
It's like, who is that serial killer in the 70s who did that?
Zodiac
Codex?
Killer.
The Zodiac Killer. He's
Yeah.
like the Zodiac of gaming leaks.
Yeah, I just watched a documentary about that. So that's
Oh,
how
you
it's
did?
so quick. Is right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
They never caught that guy, right?
This guy thinks there never was one.
What?
It was independent.
It was
independent murders
plausible-
that they're just completely
Good.
unrelated, and one guy was a copycat, and the rest were just had nothing to do with the
interesting.
Zodiac Killer. And he has a pretty compelling argument.
Compelling case.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway.
Well, that's gonna lead us into our big talk. Now, we have small brains this week, right?
Yep. Because we're only
Yeah.
working on 2 cylinders.
Yeah, we need that third cylinder back.
Yep.
Scott, what is your quote big/small talk?
Well, this is more of a question, and we kind of touched on this just a second ago, but something I've been thinking about lately is, and I think a lot of people have, but Sony has potentially The Last of Us 3, God of War 3, and of course the next Horizon game, Horizon 3. Are these going to be traditional sequels, or are these going to be more of an open world live service type sequels? Because we know that they're really pushing that. Mm-hmm. So how is this going to affect their top dollar single player juggernauts? Is it going this route? I think it potentially could. Last of Us 3 is probably not the best bet. God of War 3 may be something where it goes more open world, or maybe even, a co-op story. Right. Horizon 3 is could very well be an open world co-op game. I mean, if you look at Horizon, the big open world with, it's like Monster Hunter.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think? I think 2 of these have a potential to go that route.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
If I was in charge over there, I would say, look what they're doing with Zelda. Can we somehow do this with our franchises, right?
Yeah.
I think open world appeals to just such a bigger audience than linear.
I think that's what people have become to expect from these bigger games.
Right.
And then of course putting in the co-op aspect to it, and the live service where this is living, breathing world, and you kind of drop in and out when and you have events, much like they did with Diablo 4. I suspect that Gears 6 will probably be that's what they're doing. They're making it into, you're not going to be playing a character, you're not going to be playing Kate or JD or you're going to create your character, and you're going to be fighting alongside these characters in some kind of fashion, you and like 3 of your friends or whatever. Mm-hmm. I hope not, but I think that's where our favorite franchises are going, because those games make more money.
Right.
These big budget, giant single player, play once and trade it to GameStop is they're not making as much money.
Right.
Which one of these was like $200 million to make? Was it Horizon?
No, Horizon 2 and The Last of Us 2 were north
both
of $200 million.
Yeah,
I think one was
$200 million.
220, one might have been 230.
Yeah. So those started probably production 3 to 5 years ago. So if we're looking at the next ones, could be anywhere. It could be $500 million to make.
I know.
That's ridiculous. I mean,
what would be interesting though? How much do you think Tears of the Kingdom made, or not how much it made? How much do you think it cost?
$68.
No, but do you think it cost? If you
millions and millions? No, I don't. I don't know.
Would you say it's? What do you think it's closer to? Let's play multiple choice. 200 million, 150 million, 100 million, or 50 million?
I would say 50 million. They did use a
Oh, you
lot
think
of.
it's that low?
Well, I think it's because they used the same world. I mean, they
Right.
added to it, but they used the same world. And
Yeah.
and I think in Horizon or did they use? It's a completely different world, right? They had to like make a.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But well, I think ultimately it's like, well, how big is your team and how long are they working for? That's really what's generating
Yeah.
the cost, right?
yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see the team sizes on Zelda versus.
Well, yeah, but you also have motion cap.
I
You
know.
also have
It's tricky.
these. If you look at the credits, I guarantee if you look at the credits for Tears of the Kingdom, there's not going to be like 50 other little minor studios that had a play in that, right?
Oh, you think it's
gonna
all in house?
Yeah, it's going to be all in house.
So that means
I
cheaper.
could be wrong, but right, it's going to be cheaper. If you
Right.
look at like any of these major titles, at the end of the credits, they'll cite like all of these people that had a hand in helping with the game. You got to pay those people too,
Right.
and those are all contractors. So that starts to add up as well. That's why Activision, that's why they have so many of their studios work on Call of Duty, because it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they have to go, okay, we're not hiring more studios, we're not getting outside work, we're just pulling, hey, Raven, work on this,
Yeah.
and kind of bring everybody in to work on that.
Right.
Halo Infinite's the same way. If you look at the credits on that, you've got the Coalition, you've got pretty much every studio that Microsoft owns had a hand at some point in Halo Infinite, and then you've got another slew of studios that are like contracted work,
Okay.
to do like minor stuff. So all of that starts to add to that cost.
Right.
So I'm gonna say that it was for Zelda, it's nowhere near the amount that $200 million.
I just think if I was in charge of the Coalition, if I was in charge of Naughty Dog, if I was in charge of any of these studios, and I saw Tears of the Kingdom like project to make, sell 50 million units,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, they're not spending as much as we are. What are they doing?
Right.
Because I'm telling you that Zelda franchise was not that big before Breath of the Wild. I think I want to say
You
the
don't think
best.
so?
No, the best selling Zelda prior to Breath of the Wild sold 9 million units. I don't know. I'm almost, most of them sold between 4 and 9 million.
Really? Wow. That
Yeah, it was
seems low.
I'm telling you, I looked this up recently.
I mean, it seems like when everybody had a copy of Twilight Princess when the Wii was out, but
Maybe that one sold 9 million.
that might be
Maybe
their
that was the
highest
best selling
seller.
one. Yeah.
But
But you know how it's like, like people view Nintendo, like what is Nintendo? It's Mario, it's Metroid, it's Zelda. And like
Yeah.
Metroid is not a big seller.
No.
It's like big in our world, but it's not that
Right,
big to,
commercially, it's not. Yeah, it's
Right,
not what
right.
makes people buy, a Switch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. So maybe, but yeah, that man, their profit,
Yeah, I
on those
know.
games is just killer.
Right.
So
right.
yeah, and it's the same thing. Dice is looking at Battle Bits, going, God, how much did that game?
What are we doing?
Yeah, what are we doing wrong? It took us, we paid, Battlefield games at least $200 million, at least.
What they should do at Dice is, do you remember was it the Hunger Games? They have that raffle and they like pull balls out, and they should just start firing random employees with battle bits playing in the background. Yeah.
Somebody's
We only need 6 of you. All right.
Oh my god! Yeah, if
Yeah.
if Battle Bits was like a physical copy, I could see like one of the executives going into Dice and like throwing it across the room, like, what in the world? Do you see this thing?
Right.
Because it's I like to see that though, because that may be, it's like, hey, this is what we want. Just give
Right.
us what we want. I don't think when Last of Us 3 say it comes out and it's going to be like open world and co-op and live service and it's going to look more like The Division than The Last of Us 2, people
Yeah.
are going to lose their mind because that's not what they want. I don't
Right.
think anybody wants a God of War 3 that's open world and you play your own made character.
Right.
It makes money, but I don't know.
Well, what you could do with God of War is you could turn it into he's Link. Like Kratos is he's just smaller. The camera's back a little more, and he's
Yeah. Just make it bigger. like the
he
world
picks
bigger.
up things with his mind, and he connects them with other trees, and then he builds like mechs with the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just uses
Yeah.
anger. He's just just his anger ability. Takes two trees and
That's right.
smashes them together.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something that I think about, and I'm interested to see where they go with that and how they change, their model going forward. Because we all saw the graph of like the live service games. They're going to get with each year. It's going to get more live service than it is single player.
Right.
And this is their bread and butter. So what are they going to do with these?
Yeah.
I think Horizon would benefit from that more than the other two.
Than these ones.
Yeah, I think it's ripe for that open world live service game.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think those two in terms of the next God of War, the next Last of Us. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be live servicey. I know Factions 2 will be live servicey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's going to be its own. That's not Last of Us 3. That's its own entity.
That's its own
right,
thing.
Right.
Yeah.
If it
but
gets
I
released.
do. It would be nice to be in part, listen to those conversations, being like, "Look, we're really happy that your game sold 13 million units. Like, but can we go north of 20 on the next one? Like, what? It would be interesting to hear what the strategies would be to go. Let's try to sell 25 on the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question to go off your question. I'll read these threads on the internet where people are like, the linear game is dying, right? Like linear is better than open world, and they're kind of like trying to gatekeep, like create more linear games. Where are you on that? I'm generally off. I think I can't stand having invisible walls like guide you down a path. It's like I'm allergic. I'm like like peanut allergies with kids. Like it's like you go to the hospital. That's what I am when a game tries to tell me like, oh, you can't go this way, you can't go this way.
Yeah, but I'm the same way when it's a vast open world with absolutely zero to do in it. You know?
Yeah.
I think that if you're smart with those barriers, there's games that you play and it's like you get here and you do this and you do that and you're at the end and you see that, oh my God, look at this thing that came over, and you do that, and then at the end of it you're like, you didn't even think about going left or right. There was no,
I guess
it does a better job of like feeding you through that narrative. And
you're saying that right now, and I'm picturing Metal Gear Solid, the first one.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I never wanted to go off the map.
Right,
I always
right.
wanted to do what the game wanted me to do.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Splinter Cell is a good example of that too. I mean, they did, you've got a bigger world, but you're only focused on what you're doing at that time.
Right.
But that's not every game. Some games I think work better, with
Right.
that open world or having the freedom to kind of look around. I would have said the same thing about Halo, but playing Halo Infinite and having that open world is it's fun. I mean, it's absolutely fun to get in a warthog and spin across the whole map. But it's really just going to depend on the game and the kind of game that you're playing. I don't think every game needs open world. I mean, we're seeing this with Assassin's Creed. They're going back to a smaller world, a smaller map.
Are those Assassin's Creed still open world though? Are they just small open world, or are they linear?
The new one coming out is, they've said it's more linear. It's open, but it's they attribute it to like the first and second one, where you had the freedom to kind of move around the city or move around your mission and play the mission the way you want. But it's not like you kill this guy and then you got to get on a horse and travel for 10 minutes.
Okay. Right.
So it's I think it just really depends. That's a hard question.
Yeah.
You can do that. You can do both of those very poorly.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
You can. I guess the reason why I like open world, even when open world fails, my brain is like, well, it failed for such obvious reasons. Like you could improve this so quickly. When I'm playing like The Last of Us 2 and like they won't let me go through a window, even though like I want to throw my brick through that window, I want to go that way.
Yeah.
It's just like I like become enraged. I'm like a feral cat. I'm like a raccoon with rabies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So. Well, I mean, the same way when I played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, and I enjoyed it up to that point. It's like, here's a blowgun. You have to use this blowgun to complete this mission. I'm like, I'm done.
I do not. I do not.
Yeah. I'm like, you're. I'm like 30 hours in, and now you're giving me this tutorial crap. I mean, give me the tools, give me what I need to do, and let me just go do whatever I want. Like Dishonored, just let me tackle it any way I want to. That's what I like to play.
Question: was Dishonored open world or was it linear?
It was linear, and it was mission based basically. So you had like it's like your mission is open. It's like you start here, you can go anywhere you want, you can kill everybody, you can sneak through everybody, it just left it open. They did a really good job of having different pathways that you could play it probably 3 times and still not take every path available to you.
Okay.
You don't have to have an open world to do that.
Right. Okay.
You just have to have the ability to make those available for the player. After playing that, if you play that game and play it all the way through and don't play anything else till you finish it, when you go play something else, you'll go, this is dumb.
Okay.
I want to go, why wouldn't I just go through the window? No, you have to go through the door.
Mm-hmm.
So
okay.
It just depends on the game. Let me turn this AC off. Sorry, listeners.
No worries.
It's super hot.
You're good.
But
super hot.
Super hot.
Yeah.
It's very humid. I hope it doesn't storm while we're doing this, because it looks like it could just break out in a storm any second.
Oh.
But yeah, it's. I think open world versus closed world, I guess, is that what we're going to call it? I think it just really depends on the game. If they made another Dishonored game now, I would be very disappointed if it was all open world. I would rather have that more refined, focused areas at a time to kind of do my thing in.
Okay, I hear you. Yeah. I hear you. Fair enough. Scott, your work is not done, okay? Because I have a question that I want you to answer. I want you to solve this dilemma for me. So throughout the week, I think of good things to bring up on this podcast. And yet I know 2 things, okay? Mm-hmm. I know statistically I am certain to forget these good things. And I also know that this one in particular is so good that I'm not going to forget it. So that's what my brain does. My brain's like, oh, I'm not going to forget this one because this one's a good one.
Right.
And I always forget it.
Yeah.
Right. Scott, tell me the easiest way to record a brilliant idea or a okay idea.
For me, I drive a lot in my job. So I'm traveling. And the best thing for me to do is I just use my phone and record stuff. If I have an idea or something, I just record it, say, hey, here's something for our next podcast. I want to do this and this and this. And then that's it. And just, a couple of words. And then later, you can go back and listen to it.
How do you record it in your phone? Do you text? Do you
open
up a notes app?
I just use memo recorder, like your actual like voice recorder. And when you press it, what it does is it stamps the time and the date when the recording is, and then you can also go back and add more to it if you want to. Like if I get an idea, I'll record it and then I'll go about, and I'll think, oh wow, what if I did this, and then because on my YouTube channel, I'm always for my videos I'm looking for intros and doing intros to my review or whatever I'm doing at Seriously Tech Stuff. So when I get an idea and I don't want to forget it, I'll record it, but then I always get like maybe a slightly better idea. And then I go back to that same one. I go, okay, what if
Modify.
I did this and this? Right. Otherwise, I've gotten out of the habit of writing things down because one, I can't use a pen anymore. 2 is if I write it down digitally, it's like, did I put it in a Word document? Did I put it on my phone? Is it on my work laptop? Is it on my work iPad? It's not, and I'm like looking for it.
Right. So
doing that, my phone's always with me, and I can verbally kind of hear, the ideas that I've got.
Okay. I do walk around with a notepad And yet, I feel like when I'm at work, I'm a painter, right?
Right.
So I have nothing to do except think about things that I can ruminate. I do a lot of rumination,
Yeah.
but I never feel like I should pull out the notepad because I always feel like I should be working. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think my thing, what I would like to do is just say something out loud and have my phone wake up, and then I say record this, boom, and then it's just like I can still work, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So you don't do that though. You actually open your phone up with your hand and click on the app.
Yeah, now that you say that, I feel kind of foolish. I bet I could just tell my phone to record a voice memo. But yeah, I do. I actually go to the app and just click on it and click record.
Yeah, a lot of times like I'm up on a ladder and my phone's like halfway across the room, so I just feel like I don't want to get down and like go like spend 60 seconds or 2 minutes like doing that when you know. But I guess that was my micro talk this week.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got a question for you.
Hit me.
If you don't care about something, do you say I could care less or I couldn't care less?
You want me to be honest here?
Yeah.
I think I say I couldn't.
Yeah. Okay.
Couldn't care less.
Right.
Which that's the appropriate one, isn't it?
Well, I don't know because I'm a very like literal person, and people, I'm told that a lot because apparently I value the English language, even though I'm not very good at it. But when people say like I could care less, that means
they value it.
You have a marginal amount of care for it, but you could care a little less for it.
No, actually, that's incorrect because you're saying that what they're saying is they have a marginal amount. It could be a ton.
Exactly. You don't know how much it is. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you could have a little bit and a little bit less, or you could have a room full of care. So there's no way to figure out how much they care about that. Now, if you say I couldn't care less, that means you have absolutely zero care for that, and there is no way for you to go below that zero because there is nothing below zero.
Yeah.
So when somebody says I could care less, I don't say anything. Sometimes I'm like, so you do care? And they're like, huh? And they look at me like I'm stupid. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm being me right now. I'm just going to go away and just assume that you don't care.
Right.
I guess.
Yeah.
So anyway,
we're on the same team though, right?
Okay. Yeah. It's like one of the, there's two kinds of people, I guess, that one says one and one says the other. And it's always confusing to me.
It is funny how often you'll hear both of those.
Yeah.
I could care less. I could care less. You know what I'm going to do?
Like, I could care less.
Yeah, that's how you should be saying.
Right. It's like I care, but
saying,
I could care a little less about it.
Yeah. Well, what I'm going to do now is whenever I hear that phrase in public, I'm going to open up my notes app on my phone with my voice, and I'm going to record what type of person they were. Because I think
you should do it in front of them too. It's like today is Tuesday. I was standing in front of this guy, and he said, "I could care less." Yeah. I don't know what he means because it's stupid.
No. Then you have to classify him, and you have to say this person does not seem particularly bright. He's not wearing nice clothes.
Right.
Okay.
I don't value this. I'm not going to ask this guy's like advice on anything or his opinion because that's just not right.
I'm going to go find someone who's on my intellectual level.
Right.
Yeah, say it right in front of them. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah.
So,
Scott, I think you just saved the podcast.
Maybe. I don't know.
We were the Hindenburg for the entire podcast.
I'm thinking that maybe it's like somebody's out there going, which one? Oh, wait, which one do I say? Now I don't know which one I say.
Right.
Because maybe you just don't think about it. I don't know.
We got it because there's no chance Thick makes it to the end of this podcast. There's no way he's listening to it. So what we got to do is we got to trick Thick into saying the phrase without us wanting to lead him in a certain direction. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just write it on your board back there. How much do you care?
No, there's a way to do it on the board. There is a way to do it on the board. It'll be funny. Knowing Thick, so we know Thick a little bit. My bond with Thick is stronger than your bond with Thick.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously.
Yeah, Rocket League.
I feel like Thick he'll be on our team though. I feel like he's kind of
he's very neutral. Yeah.
No, but he's like, he chose a data GIF in the, earlier this week, and I'm like, that's
Yeah.
thick. That's the
thick.
character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Best Star Trek character is Data, by the way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool.
All right, that's gonna do it for our show. Actually, we have a couple more things to do.
Well, I do have a quote. I know Thick wasn't going to be
No.
here, or did you get one?
No, first of all, you're going to tell listeners how to how to interact with the podcast, and
Yes.
then we both have a quote. We both have
Right. Now we have something to interact with. So which one do you say? And put it down at the bottom on YouTube in our comments, and leave us a comment. And of course, if you're listening to this, sorry about the air conditioner. And yes, Spotify. I'd say Stitcher, but I think they're going out of business. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast, you can listen to this
MySpace,
on the go.
Facebook, Twitter,
everything.
everywhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
All
right.
I think Craig
Scott, hit us with your quote. Do you want me to go with my quote first, and you go? You end.
No, you go
end
first.
The quote?
Yeah. What if it's the same quote?
It's not going to
That
be.
would
This
be-
is a funny one.
that
This
would be
was from
weird.
Mark Twain. He says,
Okay.
"Always obey your parents if they are present." That's awesome. Always obey your parents if they are present.
That sounds like that's like your cool uncle. It's like, yeah, you better do what he says while he's around.
if they're right there. That's right.
That's way better than mine. This is a quote that I've this has been misquoted, I think. So I've read this several times, and it said that like different people have said it, and this one's, and I think it was Buddha, probably, but
Okay.
it is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours.
Wait. Say it one more time.
It is better to conquer yourself than to win 1,000 battles. Then the victory is yours.
Wait. And then the last sentence is, "Then the victory is yours."
Right. Meaning you're not victorious unless you learn how to conquer yourself.
Yeah, I like that quote. That's a good
Yeah.
quote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, just yesterday I listened to a whole book on Stoicism, and I feel like that's a huge thing with Stoicism, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's all...
Know yourself.
You got to know yourself, and like, you can't be controlling other people. You got to control yourself and your reactions to other people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I seem so wise and stuff on this podcast.
Act. Don't react. Yep.
Act, don't react. That's right.
Yep.
Wow, I like it. It's better than Thick's usual doom and gloom quotes.
It's like Call of Duty quotes or...
I swear, his next quote's gonna be like, "We were born alone and we will die alone."
No, right? Maybe, he needs to kind of pep it up a little bit, especially at the end of the show.
Yeah, Thick, we can't wait for you to come back, and there's no chance you're hearing this because there's no chance you made it to the end of the podcast.
No. Statistics prove that most people don't.
That's right. All right, everyone. We'll see everyone next Monday. This
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah.
Next Monday.